Welcome to Breaking Ground, Making Waves. This is a planetary platform to spotlight visionary leaders driving meaningful change. The series celebrates innovation, resilience, and the incredible work being done to foster sustainable and inclusive progress. Today, I'm happy to welcome not one, but two incredibly strong community leaders from Norfolk, Virginia. Kindra McDonald Greene is the executive director of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation and a passionate conservationist who's called Norfolk her home for over 20 years. And we also have Morgan Willett, who is the assistant director at the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation, where she leads environmental projects, community events, and volunteer engagement. Together, they are redefining what urban green space can be, not just a trail, but a bridge between neighborhoods, communities, nature, and civic life. Welcome, both of you, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So to start with, I mean, firstly, to all the listeners out there, because Planetary has a project at the Elizabeth River, I've visited, the trail itself. But to both of you, or and especially Kindra, because you've lived in Norfolk for about 20 years, for anyone who does not know the trail, how would you describe it? How would you describe the spirit of the Elizabeth River Trail?
Yeah. So the trail, I think when people hear the word trail, they're automatically transported into the woods on a, path somewhere. And we are a very urban trail. So Norfolk is an urban waterfront city, and we are unique in our relationship with the Elizabeth River. So our trail is as close to the Elizabeth River as possible by design, and it runs through 28 neighborhoods connecting communities for 10 and a half miles. So it is very urban, and in this urban environment, we've worked hard as a foundation to create these sanctuaries, these green spaces and environmental pockets where you really have these natural moments that highlight the urban environment around it and how we can interact with nature and the water through parks and shorelines, and accessing the trees and the tree canopies. So there's all these little kind of meditative moments that you can find along the trail, and it's just a really vibrant place to connect folks.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's so beautiful for anyone to visit. I highly recommend doing that. But I'm curious, and you mentioned that it is unique. What makes it different from other urban trails?
Yeah. So we're really proud of our working waterfront. The Elizabeth River is unlike many other rivers. It's there's I can stand at one point on the trail for 10 minutes and have just a constantly changing viewpoint because of the maritime history here and the military history. So we can have everything from tugboats and barges to naval ships and vessels to pleasure craft and sailing vehicles. And then we also are situated right here at the Port of Virginia. So not only do we have the largest naval station in the world here at our harbor, but we also have the Port of Virginia, where we have cargo and vessels literally traveling from all over the globe, entering right here at our port. So the waterway and that connection to the water is very important. But second only to New Orleans on the East Coast, Norfolk is second only to New Orleans for sea level rise. So we are very much impacted by the rising waters. And so we've made a real effort in our trail infrastructure to not just make the trail a recreational opportunity, but to have it be both a storyteller to that maritime community and the history around it, but a bridge in flooding and tidal events, and also a sponge in many ways. And that's where Morgan comes into to play a lot because we look at how we can use all of our native habitats and infrastructure and native plants to use bioretention opportunities and green space to absorb the water before it ever reaches the trail. So we always say the trail is so much more than a trail. It does have all these other unique aspects to it.
Wow.
I would say, just to add to that uniqueness factor, that we are, and Kendra, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we are like the only 100% urban trail, at least maybe in as far as like our region, maybe in the state. I feel like most of the trails that that we talk to when Kendra's going to like conferences and stuff, some of them touch urban areas, or go into urban areas, but are predominantly outside of those cities. So we deal with like those unique challenges of our trail kind of has to adapt as construction is being done in this area, and the fact that we have to preserve and create the green spaces for people to enjoy, to create shade on the trail and shelter and such like that.
Yeah, it's a great point. And I mean, Norfolk is a historic city, and when you're dealing with very old infrastructure, especially infrastructure that was not designed with really, bike and pedestrians in mind, and sort of a lot of divisive infrastructure for highways and roads. We are always advocating for how can things be built to include and incorporate the trail around it. And again, we just keep coming back to our mission. So much of Norfolk's water is not accessible to the public because of that military presence and that government presence. So it's so important that our residents and our community and visitors have that open access and that connection to the water. So wherever we can work with developers and folks coming into the area to add a loop that incorporates the trail and makes it public, we want to do that.
Wow, that's amazing. And so I have two questions actually. So one, was there any interaction that you've had, whether it was with the community, whether while you were working on the trail, anything that really stood out for you in all these years that you want to talk about? The second thing is relating to all the events that you do. I believe you do more than 100 events a year for the trail, and precisely so that people have access to it and there's awareness. How do you go about doing that? Really curious.
Those are great questions. So we're still a fairly young nonprofit. We're 8 years old. We'll be nine in November. This is a big year for us, and this is our growth year. I feel like we've moved out of our startup phase and we're into the growth phase, and lots of big and exciting things this year. So I'm gonna I'm gonna toss this one to Morgan so she can talk about events and all of the how that programming has changed. But I want to say that in this 8 years, the foundation has been able to accomplish what we have with a staff of two or less, up until about 30 days ago when we got our third staff member. So that's a huge leap of faith, and that the community has invested in us, that we've been able to get this third staff member to grow. So I'm gonna have Morgan talk about programming, and then I'm gonna think a little bit about kind of those pivotal community moments.
But while you're thinking, I just want
Goodness.
to add that is what is unique. I mean, you're two people who've
Yeah.
managed to do so much. It's absolutely incredible. It's really incredible. Yeah.
Well, I do want to say the other really important thing is that we have such an amazing board and we have such amazing volunteers, and Morgan works to cultivate them. But And I think I've come up with an answer to your question, so I'll come back to that. But it really comes down to the community believes in this, in this, and it's not just us, right? It is a village, and it is really visionary people in this community that have thought about what could be, and helped us to get to this point. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Morgan.
I love working with volunteers. I love all the people that I'm able to meet, and I've met some really, really wonderful people that just like they say such nice things about us, and it's like, yay, thank you. Really glad that you love supporting the trail, and so many of them feel a sense of ownership over the trail, which that really helps. I mean, that's what we want. The trail is for the community. It's for everyone, and so to have people that feel like they have a stake in it, that's the idea, and want to support that. So, okay, so our events I'm like thinking through the calendar year. We do thanks to Kendra when she came on as the executive director. She started doing Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service on the ERT, and we do a massive cleanup every year. And I think this past year we had like 200 something people out at like the Harbor Park area, which thank goodness is a huge area. And unfortunately, it does collect quite a bit of litter. And I think we collected nearly 3,000 pounds, like 2,700 pounds, something like that. It's always an amazing effort. And it's always such like a feel good day. So we do, some cleanups throughout the year. Of course, my personal favorites are kind of our green projects, the trail beautification, and I'm really thankful for the volunteers who regularly come out and help with trail maintenance and maintaining our green spaces, because everybody loves to plant a tree and plant the flowers, but we can't have those things. They don't stick around if no one maintains it. So having a solid group of volunteers that are like regularly out there in our partnership with the master gardeners to really help make that happen. Because I'm not a plant expert as much as I love the plant. So I love having their expertise and having been able to learn from them for so long now. Of course, we have our community events like Celebrate Trails Day, which again is like a national event. It's about getting outside, activating trails. And for us, it's about, bringing the community together and incorporating service into this opportunity. Of course, we don't play favorites, but I think, well, I'm certainly a fall person. I love jacket weather. Um, but it's pretty much a toss-up between Halloween Puppy Parade and the Glow Party. I think Halloween Puppy Parade is maybe a little bit more in first for Kindra, and it's vying for first for me. But Glow Party was one of my first events. It was like, hey, this amazing feature is completed. How do we celebrate it? And it was like, well, let's just bring like community partners together and have a fun day out on the trail. And it's continued to grow. Each year we see more and more people attending, and so I can invite more and more people out. And they're really fun community events. And we partner with other organizations in Norfolk to do like group paddles. So we can offer, I think it's like 10 or so like free kayaks that people can sign up for and go on these group paddles. And then they can bring their own if they want to. And with Norfolk Tour Company doing historical tours, they just did a tour of Fort Norfolk this past weekend, which is, oh gosh, it's like the last remaining harbor defense from like George Washington. So that's like really cool. It's the last remaining, and it's here in Norfolk. So it's like whether you just want to get outside and learn something new, or you're like a history person, like we try and help bring people to the trail and show the variety that you don't have to be a runner or biker to enjoy the trail. Come out with your family, come out with your pets, come out for a community event, get your hands dirty, learn about plants. And this year I'm really excited because our Nature for All programming is growing, and we're including more topics like talking about like river ecology and wildlife and such like that. So I don't know. I'm really excited as far as how we do it. I think people who talk about work-life balance look at us a lot. We try, but we also, Kendra and I are both really passionate and we love what we do. So it doesn't always feel like work. Like I'm having fun doing these things as well. So like the puppy parade, honestly, it's like, please, like even if I'm supposed to be off that day, I'm like, too bad I'm gonna be there.
When is it? I definitely want to attend.
So that I think looking at the calendar this year, tentatively, it's probably gonna be like October 25th because the 31st is on a Friday. So we'll do it probably the Saturday before. And then the glow party will be one of the first two weekends in November. And that's always fun because it kind of straddles like daylight and nighttime so that for the first like hour, it's pretty light outside. You can have fun, lots of activities, and then the last hour is when you can see the trail. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't say this. The
I was
first
gonna, yeah. It's
and
like,
just like, why
tell
aren't
us
you
what the
saying
glow
it?
line
The
is.
glow line is the first glow in the dark trail section on the East Coast here in Norfolk. So I mean, it's just so cool. And it was one of those we know, like, especially where the trail goes through city parks, that you can't put lights up because it's a city park. It's closed sunset to sunrise. So how do we light the trail to make it safe for the people? Because the trail's open 24/7. So for people, especially for commuters, and then you get people out walking their dog and such, how do we light the trail? And then because it's in this very like tree section of the park, we're thinking about like the birds and we're next to like a bird sanctuary over there. So how do we respect nature, respect the city, rules about the park, while still making it safe for our trail users. So it was like 5 years in the making of testing different surfaces and materials and finally found these really cool glow stones that they embedded into the asphalt or concrete in a fiddlehead fern pattern because that's a native Virginia fern. So it's just the coolest thing. It doesn't like when people take pictures of it, it doesn't look real. It looks like computer generated, but it's real.
Wow, that's amazing. So that, that brings me to my next question, basically, because went into programming, but I'd love to know the vision of Elizabeth River Trail Foundation itself. So we spoke about the trail, all the amazing work and the events that you do. But, Kindra, what is the vision of the foundation? If you can talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Morgan. I mean, the programming is incredible. And if we didn't have programming, we always say the trail would just be kind of a dead trail, right? It's important to have the people that, activate and enhance it and get folks out on it. So our mission, the foundation's mission, has evolved over time, but our mission is we do the programming, the planning, and the advocacy as a foundation for the Elizabeth River Trail to connect Naval Station Norfolk to the Virginia Beach Trail. So we want to, right now, we're just 10 and a half miles, and we don't quite go north to the naval station and we don't quite go as east as we need to go to Virginia Beach. So that is the goal, to stay as close to the river as possible and make that connection because it's all part of a regional trail system because we really believe we're building a shared resource, for our cities and our region. And how amazing would it be to go from the largest naval station all the way to the ocean front and really have this connected system. But our vision is really to be with our trail resilient trail building infrastructure and green infrastructure models that we are a global example of a coastal resilient trail and that we can be sort of a learning lab for other cities, urban cities that are dealing with these same kind of challenges. And it's very, I guess, affirming when I'm around other peers that are in, partner trail systems, and they're dealing with similar things, and to be able to say, okay, well, this is how we deal with these stormwater issues, or this is how we deal with this. So we see it all coming together to be a real learning lab that everyone can use. That's the overall vision. But it's all about just connecting the communities and being, a resource to community. And going back to the question, just on overall just best things and successes. This all started just with a community vision. This was just a group, 30 years ago of just citizens, civic league members, members of the Norfolk Historic Preservation Society that wanted to shine a light on Fort Norfolk.
Yeah.
Folks that has said, hey, there's a railroad that's abandoned, and we have a member of our board, one of our original founding board members, who can remember running the railroad tracks from tie to tie and seeing the views of the Elizabeth River and just thinking, man, we need to pull up these railroad tracks and make this a trail. So there was this real community vision, and we have those visionary leaders to thank for just thinking of what could be. And it really started as an idea back in 2016 of this could be a real opportunity to attract and retain talent, highlight all of our economic generators. We connect all of the anchor institutions in Norfolk, all the universities, Norfolk State, Old Dominion, the Eastern Virginia Medical School, and the Centera Medical Complex and the Children's Hospital. And so just being able to tie in all of these businesses, and it's been really neat. And as the trail infrastructure comes together, and then we as the foundation get to enhance it with play structures and glow lines and benches and picnic tables and all those things, we've seen these very cool small businesses pop up in these restaurants and coffee shops, and it's just created such a sense of community. And Morgan mentioned stakeholders, and um, we get calls from Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts that say, this is my backyard. I grew up here. How can I give back? And they'll do projects. And so it's just such a lovely thing to see the community rally around and support this real, jewel for our city. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just that's one of the biggest strengths of ERT. And it was so heartening to see it. The fact that you're able to bring people from all walks of life, from anyone who's working on the river, businesses, nonprofits, the city itself, it's absolutely incredible. Which is why, when Morgan and I met, as Planetary, I was like, this is incredible. Like, how do we partner? How do we work? And she had multiple ideas, community day to like
Yes.
we can do a tour and things like that. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is what generally entities like us and others are like, looking forward to. How do we give back to the community? How do we work with the community? And you facilitate that. You bring everyone together. So it's absolutely incredible work that you do, both of you. Really kudos.
Thank you. Well, we're grateful for your work too, and just shining a light on the folks and the nonprofits and the businesses that are, doing the good work for the climate, because we all need to be doing the work. And I think it's just that collective action that is going to make the difference.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah. Um, well, okay, so we've spoken about the foundation, but about the two of you, you wear multiple hats. You have incredible backgrounds. I'm curious as to, first of all, which of the role gives you most joy, in your day-to-day work that you do, what brings you a lot of like you're excited. And the second thing, well, I'll go into more details, but I'm curious to know what brings you the most joy while you're working.
Hmm. Morgan, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, sure. I guess like in like just kind of the day to day sitting behind my desk, I really enjoy putting together spreadsheets. And I knew Kendra knew I was going to say that. And like putting together like this, okay, how are we going to collect and store this data and make it like so we can like share it and distill it and, you know, get all the information that we need. So I enjoy that. But I like I said earlier, like I absolutely love working with volunteers and love like the program planning. Of course, my passion is the environment. So our trail beautification projects, all of them, from like installing something new to maintaining things and just helping to get people connected with nature and knowing that even though we're in such an urban environment, you can still connect with nature and you can still make a difference. That weeding around these baby trees and going out and watering them occasionally, like that's going to make a difference. Like you're leaving a legacy by doing this because that tree, if we keep it healthy and it grows, that's going to provide shade and habitat and food and you know, all these things, and helping with with you know, flooding issues for years to come, hopefully decades to come. So it's like telling, you know, it's the maintenance isn't as, I don't know, headliney. Come lead
Yeah.
with us. You know, it doesn't sound as great as come plant a tree with us, but it's like these things are what make the future more beautiful and what makes these spaces, maintains these spaces for everyone to enjoy. And it is, that is the impactful work. Planting a tree is great. Maintaining that tree is where the impact comes from.
Yeah, that's so funny. Morgan had arranged a volunteer event last week, and our team was all scattered in different places. And so we all had to kind of tag team it. And it was freshmen, ninth graders that were doing a volunteer project on the trail. And uh, she ended up arranging for them to cut down some bamboo because bamboo, which we know is pretty invasive, had taken over. So I had all these young kiddos with pruning loppers were like lopping at this bamboo, and it's exhausting work. And I was trying to tell them that you know, this is some of the most important work that you can do, right? This is some of the most, it's labor intensive and it's hard and it's hot. But this is some of the most important work that we do because it's, opening up. We went from this completely dense and shaded area to that was crowding out our native plants to opening up this bit of light. And so that was really fun. We don't I think everyone, I don't know, when I talk to people, they're like, "Oh, you have such a fun job. You're out on the trail all the time." We joke we are not out on the trails nearly as much as we would like to be. So I think at my desk, yeah, it's really, I write a lot of grants. It's really, really rewarding, obviously, to get a grant, to see something come to fruition that's like a project I really believe in. We got our first National Park Service grant last year, which will allow us to do some amazing storytelling. So that's super exciting. Just seeing some capital projects that have been years in the making actually get break ground is incredibly exciting, and getting to oversee those projects. I just never thought I would be like the person, like the female, like out on out in the field with the hard hat, like watching like cranes put things together, but I am. So that's been really rewarding for me. And then, of course, when we will get just really beautiful comments on social media or cards that are sent to us that say, well, I mentioned that we have a very large hospital complex right on our trail. It backs right up to it, and a children's hospital. One of the best, and specifically a mental health hospital for children, which is, I think, one of the only facilities certainly in Virginia, but there there are people that are in very vulnerable situations that are here, and sometimes they're seeing Norfolk for the first time because of an emergency or a really bad situation, and they discover our trail. Maybe by accident or somebody points them there, and then we'll get a letter that will say, wow, I needed your trail and you were there. And that just, all the feelings. And that's exactly what this work is about. So yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's so beautiful. And to receive those letters and messages. Oh,
Yeah, it's very cool. Yeah, and we have like our little file where we put all the good news moments where there are days when we just need to like go through them and read them like we need this today. So
oh God, that's beautiful. I hope to see it someday for sure. Oh my
yes.
God. And speaking of hard hats, if you ever want to do it again, Kindra, definitely visit our facility. We'll definitely give you the hard hat.
Okay, okay. You got it.
I mean, Morgan and I are anyway planning the trail, at least in June. So hopefully, yeah. So you'll get your own hard hat.
Definitely. Definitely. I'm excited.
Um, you know, well, like your career, especially Kidra, like, you've gone from like creative writing to security to environmental re leaderships. How have those different chapters shaped your approach to community work and the work at ERT Foundation?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Diana. I always say like I took a very winding path to get here, but every bit of it I use, and every bit of it informs the way that I lead and that I make decisions. So I'm kind of the poster person for it's never too late to find out where you're supposed to be. Because I felt like for many years that I just wasn't quite in the right place. But little did I know I was learning all of the things that would put me in the right place. So, yeah, so from, some very corporate, I spent 10 years in as a contractor for the government, and doing very technical things, standard operating procedures and, grants, but that has certainly helped me. And then I have a master's of fine arts in creative writing, and I teach poetry, but that creative side of me, um, uh, I think helps me to, Morgan and I are such good partners because all of my weaknesses are her strengths. She mentioned spreadsheets. I don't think well in spreadsheets. I think well in like,
I
um,
understand, yeah.
yeah. I think that I think back on, okay, where were there examples when I could have used, I had this particular situation where I was dealing with, a challenging group, or trying to get something through. We do a lot of advocacy here. And so when I've been met in the past with, resistance, where have there been examples where I've been able to, find a solution? So just, everything builds upon it. And I just feel really grateful that I've always had a heart for service and nonprofit work, and just continuing to serve my community in a volunteer role, um, just helped connect me to the right things. And I just said yes to things um that really just put me in the right place, I think. Yeah. So, and I definitely had a had a big career change. I took a big leap from my last nonprofit job and um joined AmeriCorps as a, you know, 40 something year old, and which did not look like the average AmeriCorps person, but it was the time it put me in state parks, Virginia state parks, and it was the first moment in my life where I just felt like I had met my people and felt like I found the place I was supposed to be in. So it again it's never too late to find the path you're supposed to be on if you're um intentional about how you want to give back to your community and where you want to be. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you're right. Every single skill that you picked up, whether it's storytelling, it's so important to be working, utilizing that for community work. I mean, your knowledge of all different sectors, I can see why all of these different, it's like people from all walks of life are able to come together under one umbrella. So yeah, oh, it's incredible. Morgan, you too, and you love environment, and your work is on environmental stewardship, and I believe that you moved to Norfolk, what, 7 years ago? Oh, was it eight?
I think now it's 8.
Eight. So tell us a little bit about your journey, and and what brought you then finally to ERT.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely not as circuitous as Kendra's journey to get here, but still a bit. I actually graduated high school with my cosmetology license and did hair, nails, and makeup for 7 years before deciding, to nobody's surprise, to go back to school. They all could see that I had other interests. And I actually went back to school thinking I'd go into public health. And then I had a credit transfer issue and ended up, they were like, well, you've got to take a science again. And I was like, I am not taking biology. I've done way too much biology. It's cool, but it's not for me. So luckily, Tidewater Community College here in Norfolk offered environmental science. So I took that, and I think it was either while we were learning about wastewater or soil. I think it was soil. I was literally learning about dirt and was like, I love this. This is great. Like I was just so like enthralled by everything, even like the complexity of environmental issues. Like I was just like, this is amazing. Um, but when I looked into getting a bachelor's in environmental science, I think because I had waited so long after high school, and math was we're not good friends, me and math. So it was like, oh, you've got to take like organic chemistry and calculus. And I was like, guess who has never taken a day of chemistry in their life? So there's no way I'm gonna jump into organic chemistry and calculus. I had to take a remedial algebra course when I went back to college because it had been, 7, 8 years since I had even really needed to use algebra. So that was a little too daunting. I ended up getting my bachelor's in leadership with a minor in public service. And I got an internship at Keep Norfolk Beautiful. And I think that was a big turning point for me. That was kind of like I was finally in a space where I was like, okay, I see long-term career, aspirations happening, working with volunteers, managing and coordinating programs, and shortly after I started at Keep Norfolk Beautiful, I joined the ERT events committee and became a regular volunteer. So 4.5 years at Keep Norfolk Beautiful, really diving more into, the environmental world, and really enjoying that space and really feeling at home in that space. And then a position opened up with the ERT. I already knew Kindra, so that was like we had, crossed crossed paths a number of times. We still cross paths with Keep Norfolk Beautiful quite a bit, utilizing a lot of their litter cleanup supplies. So it was a really easy transition to go from particularly working in city government, and Keep Norfolk Beautiful is part of the city of Norfolk, but it's a very small agency and had sort of a grassroots feel to it. So coming into the nonprofit world wasn't, there was no huge shocks. And it's been wonderful because my environmental interest and passion has I've gotten a lot of support. Thank you, Kindra, and our board for pursuing that. And because our trail is outdoors, it's kind of a natural fit. So it's been really nice that I've been able to grow so much professionally in this kind of roundabout way. And now I'm doing so many of the things that I love. I get to incorporate so much of what I love into one job, even if it is 5 different hats.
No, and I must say your passion for environment, Kindra, and Morgan and I spoke for the first time, right? Normally when I'm, describing our work to the community, I know that, part of the work is technical. It's on carbon removal. We work with wastewater treatment facility. So it's not the most, for lack of better word, sexy, right? To like put this, right? So when I was telling her, I could see she was actually excited about knowing it. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, we get really excited. And if you talk to Morgan about like the Swift facility and the things that are happening with, I mean, like, it's very exciting to us that a Swift facility is coming to Norfolk and like,
Oh,
yeah, very cool.
I've got to calm down.
no, no, keep the excitement going, both of you. Really, it's amazing. But
Yeah.
okay, how about I flip it a little bit? And Kendra, you touched upon it a little bit earlier when you said, there are challenges sometimes you do face. I'm curious to know in your work, in the foundation, in your process of like leading this organization, what are the challenges that you faced, and especially from the community?
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think there's always challenges with funding, right? I mean, funding is a challenge. We we are a city entity. We are a city trail, but as a nonprofit, we are raising private funds for a public amenity. We do have amazing support from our city, but I think there's a lot of just storytelling to unpack, and we've worked hard on that. So I think that there are just a lot of trail users and residents that just believe that this is part of their taxpayers, and they're paying for this trail, and that's what's happening, and that's really not the case. So I think we work on that storytelling, and that's just for the existing trail. And then if we think about what our mission now is to connect to Virginia Beach, and that city, even though it's just across just across a line, it's a different city, different system, different everything, and they are kind of leaps ahead in terms of planning for their trail, and that is that things are coming to fruition there. So we need to sort of work on closing that gap between where our trail kind of ends and theirs begins. So as we do community outreach to communities that are maybe just finding out about the ERT for the first time, we're trying to separate this off-road protected um, trail, urban trail, from bike lanes and you know um, things that may be perceived as, gentrification, which is a real concern. And, this goes back to, again, Norfolk is a we're an old city and just we face many real historic um concerns like racial and socioeconomic disparities. And our trail, I mentioned it connects 28 neighborhoods, but it runs through several different city council wards. And as we want to grow, that's, running through additional wards. So it's really just a matter of how do we show up for community to say, we're here to serve you. We recognize that there, inequities exist in the built environment, and it's our role as the foundation to bring equity in every amenity, in every trailhead, in every trail structure that we can. And we hope to do that. We start doing that through our programming, right? So how can we show up in your community, find out, what needs and concerns you have, and help that, whether it's creating a pollinator garden or a maybe a fruit and nut tree orchard. And then that's the steps that can help us build trust. We as an organization led by our board and master planning chair, they always say we move at the speed of trust. So this is, I think, a long answer to your question in that there are still challenges in gaining trust with the wider community and really dispelling the idea that we are a bike trail. That is simply not true. Yes, there are people that bike on the trail, but we are 75% pedestrian, which just means a safe place to walk and a safe place to gather. So, whether you're pushing a stroller or roller skating or just gathering with family, it's just simply, a safe place to be. So, yeah, that's the that's the story that we try to that we try to tell. But I think in every community there's a challenge of both a little bit of fear of something new and then a little bit of our, is that a place, is that a place for us? We've been in really interesting situations, Morgan has too, where we've been doing community outreach and people have asked us, do we have to pay to get on the trail? And so that's just a
Yeah.
matter of we get to say, no, this is a resource that's for everyone. So um those are interesting challenges. So yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing we can't overcome. We operate with uh like eternal optimism here.
And I see that.
Yeah.
I absolutely see that. And it's such a beautiful thing you said. Move at the speed of trust. That's essentially what anybody, even someone like me who's working community engagement, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
And that's the way to gain that community trust. So, yeah, yeah. Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Um, so, well, okay, because you also mentioned, how communities and you try to bring communities, in line with the vision that you're developing or you have. I'm curious as to how, organizations like us or like companies like us, private sector to any other organization can work with you, or what is, something that you would want or wish for us to do, which will help you, you know perhaps like realize your goal even faster?
Mhm. Oh my gosh, such a great question. I mean, I definitely I see the Elizabeth River Trail as being, the model for public-private partnerships,
Mm.
across the country because the city has been, so amazing in, working with us to say, okay, there's this land, you all enhance it, right? And so it's been so great for us to be able to say, wow, we would really love, this community has these needs and we want this trailhead to look this way. So um I think that, it's a tricky time right now in the US.
Mm.
So we're a lot of our needs for infrastructure are at the, federal funding level. There are some things that we can do as a nonprofit that involve our amenities and raising money for those things. But we've never built a trail before. We've enhanced kind of existing infrastructure. And so when we think about the fact that we are really looking at building a trail, that is a lot of advocacy at both the state and federal level, that trails are important. They're not, yes, they're important for recreation, but they're important, for transportation, for air quality, for for all of the
Yes.
carbon reduction, for all of the various number of reasons that that we have trails. So I think having that advocacy component is always helpful from people that have a larger voice than we do. So that is great. Just as well as again, community partnerships that help us to reach. We love just like Elizabeth River Project. They're certainly a mentor to us. They have such a long history of gaining collaborative partnerships, and so we also believe in that, community collaborative partnerships. So maybe connecting us with folks that could help us achieve those goals that we haven't thought of either. I think that those are probably, our biggest needs. We're always, again, looking for grant opportunities and ways for us to be able to fund the both the programming and the trail infrastructure and amenities that we need. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, fantastic. Anything you want to add to that, Morgan?
Gosh, I I like to think of the ERT staff and our volunteers and the trail as a resource for the community. The trail, certainly in the most obvious of ways, is definitely a resource, but even that the work that Kendra and I do is a resource. And so having community partners and like Kendra was saying, collaboration is so helpful to us because we are young and we are small. And the more that we can collaborate with our community partners and other organizations, not only do we grow awareness for the trail, but we grow our capabilities to enhance and improve and even protect the trail, especially as we, look at Norfolk is completely landlocked. Like there's only so much green space. And, we're looking at, or I was telling someone about the Pocket Park recently, which is down by Harbor Park, where there is a ton of construction going on for this new casino. And I was like, I'm really grateful that we created the Pocket Park when we did because the construction is using it's an apartment building and a couple other houses, but they're using that area to lay down the construction materials. And you can imagine if there wasn't a parking or a pocket park in this small, kind of right of way space, that would also be used and people would be literally looking out their back window to see piles of construction materials. But we were able to, and thankfully, I don't think I was totally aware of the whole casino thing when we first started doing this, but that because of the work of the trail, we were able to preserve this space. There's a bunch of trees and a pollinator garden and a community needs pantry and a little free library and a covered bench with a rainbow. Sorry, there's no more room for construction materials to be laid down here. So these people, there's going to be materials all around them except for this green space. And we've gotten feedback from that community that they enjoy it. We saw, grandma and her granddaughter going out to get a book from the little free library. I'm like, this is so great. It's like that's what the trail is for. And so I think anything that we can do with our community partners and other organizations to increase each other's resources and capabilities. What is that phrase? A rising tide raises
Lifts
all
all
ships or
boats. Mhm.
lifts all boats kind of thing. So I feel like, and especially as a small organization, and I know Planetary is not exactly like
We're
huge
small. We're a
staff
tiny
wise.
organization. Yes.
Yeah. So that we can, we can help share your message and like you're doing with us today and helping to share our message with the broader community. I think that's just it's amazing. And then joining us at Celebrate Trails Day to kind of share what you're doing in the community and growing awareness for both of us in the community.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're by no means, small by impact. I must say, please don't say they're small at all. And for anyone who
Aw.
wants to see, go visit Elizabeth River Trails website and look at all the partners that you have. You have everyone rooting for you.
Aw.
We are
It does
very,
feel
very
it does
grateful.
feel good. Yeah. It does
Yeah.
feel good to see. And we yeah, I mean, we love our community partners. And I think, just to have one final bow on like what people can do. I think it's just yeah, opening doors. I think opening doors for us is just really, yeah, really instrumental. Yeah. That helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, but before I go into, I want to do like a little bit of a rapid fire round. But before that, I'm curious, what keeps you grounded when work gets tough?
Uh, Going
You know,
outside.
by talking
Yeah,
to
I
you, I'm
mean,
like, work never gets tough for either of you. You're like, we're having fun every day.
yeah. I will say like and just we are really we communicate a lot. We're a very transparent team. Like last week was a week for our whole team. We just had a week. And yeah, we made it to Friday and it was just whew. But I we are really we communicate with each other a lot. And when we know when we're like that, I think the first response is we have to get out on the trail. Like even if it's just we have let's 15 minutes out on the trail. Like we got to get out. Let's just reconnect for a moment. And it honestly like it just is so affirming because we're never out there alone. There's always someone out on the trail appreciating it, and that for me, I'm speaking for Morgan, and I shouldn't, but for me, just seeing other people using the resource. If I see people on the fitness course, I'm just elated. If I see, somebody like looking at a flower that we planted, I'm like so happy. It just grounds me. This is what keeps us going. This is why we do the work we do. Um, but I know that I have to be in the work, like be present and and see it for me to just have that moment of reset in order to kind of keep going because I mean that nonprofit, that's all nonprofit work. It's challenging. And I think when you're working for a cause, it is easy to find the work boundless. And we always say with the trail, we are at the intersection of so many different things. You know, health disparities, again, public health and wellness, mental health. That's a huge, mission for us. And again, transportation needs, and we have an unhoused population in Norfolk that has needs and uses the trail. And so it's it can feel boundless. So I think we just continue. We get on the trail. I do. And then I remember, okay, what is our mission? Let's focus on our mission. And are we achieving that? So that's my very long answer to that question.
Yeah. Mine is much shorter. It's literally like get outside, number one, and number two is get my hands dirty,
Mhm.
in dirt particularly. Um, so like Kendra said, this past week it was just like, whoa, what a week. We were just all over the place. And I don't even think we were at our desks very much, but we weren't necessarily like it was just meetings and presentations and all this stuff. But that being able to be out there on the trail with those students, I now have a new favorite picture where I'm actually like holding a carpenter bee on my finger because he was cold. So he was super chill. And I was just like, I'm gonna keep you with me for a little bit and help you warm up. And it was just like that was a very and I was at work and I found it very refreshing to just be outside, get in the dirt a little bit, and it just time in nature is never wasted. And I fully
Mhm.
believe that. And then after this week ended, I went for a walk at the botanical gardens and just again just being outside. Pine trees are they smell so good. So yeah, that's me. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I completely understand. And, for me as well, in nature is such a big healer, I would say. After even like, being in Norfolk, of course, a lot of meetings, and all of that, like it's amazing. But at the same time, I would like every morning, I would just go next to that, the trail itself, which is downtown, and I would just sit there, for some time or like just walk, and I'd be like, oh, this feels so good.
Good.
So thank you. Thank you for taking care of the trail so well so people like us can find some peace.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
Okay. So some rapid fire questions. Okay. So question number one, favorite hidden gem on the trail. Kindra, would you like to go first?
Oh my gosh, hidden gem. Oh my gosh. Okay, hidden gem. So at the end of the pagoda, oh no, no, no. Okay. Well, I do have two. Okay, end of the pagoda, in Freemason all the way to the end. There's a practice space for yoga, but it's a really tucked away little pier, and it's really lovely and private and nice. And then the loop around the lofts at Front Street on the high deck chair. It's just absolutely perfect. Yes, hidden gem.
Okay. Oh gosh. It's so hard to call because like we know so many areas of the trails when we think of like hidden gem, like which areas are hidden. I mean, I have just like a personal love of the pocket. Oh no, for me it's the Water Street open space. I don't think people know about this like they I think a lot of people walk past it. No one goes in and explores it. And it's just so nice. All these beautiful native wildflowers, and they grow up tall, and especially in the fall when it's like it's cooling off outside because there's really not a lot of shade in that space, but you've got like the breeze off the river and the sunset is gorgeous, and you've got the native plants, the late summer and early fall plants blooming, and and again the working waterfront that you can just it's so easy to just kind of stop thinking because there's enough to look at, but it's not like you have to think so hard about it. You can watch the boats go by, you can watch the flowers in the breeze. There's birds flying around. Like it's just a nice spot. I love it. And I think that's, I also love, and my second one is unfortunate because I love the stretch going around the bird and wildflower sanctuary. Unfortunately, there's a fence on both sides because the bird and wildflower sanctuary is a protected space. And then on the other side, you have a Norfolk Southern rail yard. As much as I know that the Japanese honeysuckle is really invasive here, it smells so nice and it's constantly growing up on that fence line. That's mostly what we were clearing this past week from over there, but it smells so nice and it's this little corridor. And so, yeah, even though it's not supposed to be there, I kind of, I don't hate it.
Cool. And so this is the next question is for either of you. If the trail had a mascot, what would it be?
We kind
Yeah.
of Miles is kind of he's a
Oh
puppy, but I
yeah.
don't. Yeah, he's
Miles
one
the
of our
dog.
trail partners. Has a dog named Miles who comes on the bike rides quite a bit. I don't know, a mascot.
I don't
What
know.
do you
Like,
think
I
of?
think our board has thrown out a turtle from time to time because, like, but a turtle spelled with like an ERT, like, I don't know. I kind of I would love a mascot. We love the Swamp Rabbit Trail in Greenville, and they're all about the rabbit. We should have a mascot, but I haven't quite figured it out. I mean, Norfolk is the city of mermaids, but like that doesn't fit for the trail. We don't know.
Do you blend all the buildings, all the industry, the cyclists and runners and exercise people and kids and commuters and pets? Like there's a
A
there's too
lot.
much going on the trail to
Yeah.
create like one
Yes. Symbol.
symbol
Yeah.
that's not like an inanimate object.
Yeah. Agreed.
How about your ideal trail day? Sunrise walk or sunset ride?
Hmm. Oh, for me, it's definitely a sunrise walk. So my ideal would be sunrise walk and some yoga. That would be amazing. And coffee at probably Neptune's Fury because they have amazing, amazing views of the trail. And
Oh my
then
God,
like
yeah.
so amazing views of the trail. And then like probably then a walk and then probably another coffee at Freight House Coffee on a swing. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Lots of
love
That's where
coffee.
Neptune.
Diane and I met up. Yeah.
Ah, lots of coffee.
And I love Neptune's Fury, by the way. That's the place I was talking about. Every morning I would just go there, coffee, and it's oh my God, it's so beautiful, the
Yeah.
water and oh
They have amazing trail side like space. Amazing. Yeah.
So, like Kindra said, we're such great partners because in the best ways possible, we're kind of opposites. So I think my ideal trail day, gosh, I'd probably honestly spend most of the day out on the trail, except that I like to sleep in, so I probably wouldn't do a sunrise one. I'm more of a sunset person, but probably, start off. I don't know. I do like riding my bike on the trail because then you can see so much of it and get to so many places. But it would involve probably a brewery, the food truck at the brewery, and like a ride through the managed meadow, and then sunset at Plum Point Park because it's definitely one of the spaces with like the best sunset views on the trail, and it's just beautiful green space.
oh, beautiful. Okay, this is a controversial question. Cat or dog?
Cat.
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 And I was ready for this. And here's a picture of my cat that sits on my desk. Yeah, we're both cat people.
We love dogs. Like we love seeing them out on the trail. And if I'm out on the trail and people walk by with dogs, I'm like, of course, going to ask if I can say hi.
Yeah.
And I think that dogs instinctively know that I want to say hi. Like I think they sense my desperation to say hi to them. But yeah, two cats.
And
And I think
especially,
people, oh,
sorry, sorry.
go
No,
ahead.
no,
I was
no, go
going to say,
ahead.
I think people watching should know that we have a dogs of the ERT, like a hashtag dogs of the ERT Instagram. So just heads up if your dogs are on the ERT, like take your pictures, tag us. We want to see them. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's incredible. Oh, that's amazing. I was just going to say one of the reasons I put this question was also because I know Morgan had earlier shared that you two take pictures of your cats and share with each other. I was like, huh, that's
Yes,
so
yes,
cool.
yes, we do.
Okay. If you had an environmental superpower, which one would it be? And I mean, which one would you choose?
Oh, environmental superpower. No, like no vehicles. No vehicles at all. Yeah, yeah, I think that would be my superpower. Everybody has to commute via our ferry system, our, our bicycles, or yeah, yeah, that'd be my superpower. Okay.
I think mine would be replacing. turf lawn with wildflowers.
Okay. Love
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Yeah.
you could have like a little wand that you just waved over people's.
Yeah.
Flowers everywhere and oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
no
Like it's
vehicles.
just so nice. Like don't worry about mowing your lawn. Like just plant all the wildflowers. I mean, if my husband was into it and I didn't think we'd get the city called on us, like front and backyard would probably be wildflowers with some paths cut through it. Like
I love it. I love it.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the last question. One word to describe Norfolk's spirit.
Ooh,
Norfolk spirit. Okay, it's hard to do that one word. I'm trying to, I know what I want
yeah.
to say, but
You can say
um,
multiple words. It's okay. Doesn't have to be one word. It's okay.
I think
I can't,
innovative is one of them.
yeah, I'm trying to say, I can't distill it down to one word, but the idea of reinvention, maybe that's the idea. Like I think the city has been able to kind of reinvent itself. Again and again. And I think that's one of its strengths. But I also think, okay, I also would say diverse. I think diversity is absolutely one of Norfolk's strengths. And unlike our sister cities that are just within this Hampton Roads region, that are, literally just across the city line, it's Norfolk that has a really diverse population in terms of our in terms of our mix of demographics, and I think that's also our biggest strength.
Yeah. So maybe resilient is a good one. We're really kind of a lot of we're a little bit of a test subject for, like sea
Mhm.
level rise. So we have to be, resilient to sea level rise. Norfolk has a long history, like Kindra said, and not all of it has been pretty. So the city has had to be resilient in that way, and we're continuing to be resilient. And I think the important part of that is that being resilient isn't always fun, but generally the end result is better. So you keep going through these phases of resilience, and it's work, and it's sometimes struggle and challenges, but then you get to the other side and you see like how amazing it is. So whether it's the environment or working on some historical issues or old infrastructure.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So innovation, resilient, and diverse, and if I could add, incredibly warm people. At
Oh,
least that has
good.
been my experience. Yeah, yeah. So, it's been amazing. But yeah, thank you so much,
Good.
really.
Oh, thank you. This has been so
Thank
fun. Thank
you.
you.
Thank you once again for taking the time. It's been amazing. And I look forward to working with both of you and, seeing you again in person next month. Thank you.
Thank you.